Hello, good morning everyone. It's been a while I did a video, but I think I just need to do this one very quickly. I was just thinking about a lot of things that had to do with people management, process, design, and a story just popped in my mind that I feel has a lot to do with how lots of organizations and business structures and even any system runs at the moment. And this is a story. It's about my wife. My wife is the kind of person who would look after the kids and look after the house and also pay attention to some things that are my basic recurring needs while I'm being the daddy and the husband and more like the director telling things to be done in the house. Now, in my role as daddy and director and manager and the person who tries to ensure things go a certain way, I see everything going on in the house that's not done well. I somehow have what I would refer to as eye for details, where you get to see everything that everyone is doing that is not right, everything that is wrong, and you tend to want to make comments about this should be done this way and this should be done this way, this could have been done this way for this goal. Now, don't get me wrong, it does not mean the things I'm saying don't exist. They do exist. They are actual scenarios or situations that needs to be enhanced or to be worked upon or to be corrected and to be made better. But then it in most cases appears like making the person who is the owner of that process or the custodian of that process feel like they haven't been doing anything at all, which now makes her to sometimes get into self-doubt, get into those emotions where you start feeling stressed or burnout and you feel pressured to do better and you start questioning yourself, and sometimes you feel like you have not really invested so much energy in the process. Now, a typical work structure is similar to this, and this is what I've seen in that. There are those leadership or leadership structure or the leaders who are the example of myself in the home front now, that will find everything wrong in the process. They actually are not in the day-to-day running of the activity. They are not the custodian of the grassroots activity that makes the business what it is. But they can also look into, oh, this is not done well, this is not the policy, this is not the appropriate way to do it, this tarnishes the image of the business. And most of the time, these things are being done that now makes the process to feel frustrated, and the real custodians of the process finds themselves stressed out in the process of getting the work done. Now, I'm not going to make this video very long. Back to the story of my wife and myself. There was a time she had a meeting and she needed to go for that meeting. And for me, who has been a director, who knew everything that has to be done, how it needs to be done, what needs to be done, the way it should be done, what should be said, how to manage the emotions, how not to have an outburst, how to say the right thing at the right time, how to have the right reactions, how to interact the best way, I was left with the kids. And kids, for who they are, had a big mess in the house, and it was my job to ensure the house was tidy, the kids were doing what they needed to do, also managing the conflicts amongst the kids at intervals that were not planned, that could happen at any time, while still trying to get the task done. I also felt I wanted to be a romantic man, to make a meal and ensure she has something to eat when she's back from the meeting. And halfway into that task, I broke down. And what I did was to call my wife and ask, babes, when are you coming back? And how soon are you coming? In fact, to be very honest, I stood by the window and I was looking out to see when she was coming back from where she went to. And I was also calling at intervals to find out how she had gone about what she went for. This is how a lot of managers are. Lots of managers are good at looking at the fault. I'm not saying they don't understand the work process. I'm only saying sometimes the knowledge of the process is different from the practicality of the process. The same way you have skills you acquire when you go to a formal institution to learn a certain skill, and someone who is on the field putting everyday effort in acquiring that skills and mastering that skills, these are two different areas. And this is what a typical work environment looks like. A lot of managers, a lot of directors, a lot of leaders are not involved in the process, and also have not imbibed the process of running feedback system where you can understand how the work flows and internalizing that process, so that you can have a simulation of that process and a little bit of understanding of what the employee goes through. In most cases, when given the same button that you feel you are good at analyzing and judging, you will realize that you don't have the strength, the skill in some cases, or probably I should even say you might have forgotten the skills, because some of the leaders also grew up the ladder and found themselves at the top of the cadre, which is a very good thing, because that is what career path development or design or career path structure or definition is, where people grow up and become experts in what they do, but at the same time being able to apply the skills back in the process and make the process better because of experience. So now, when I looked at what my wife does every day and I put myself in that experience, I realized that she's actually doing a whole lot that is beyond my analysis. So my job is more to support and ensure she succeeds at what she does than for me to criticize, analyze, and judge, and eventually make her feel she's not doing enough. And I can tell you for a fact that if you try to get to think that you could have a replacement for that particular individual, then you realize that you only have entered into another structure of analyzing, judging, criticizing, finding faults, and still not finding the right answer. So what works in this, and this is me now bringing this to a close, is a lot of times in any structure, any business environment, any institution, you have people who either have grown up the ladder or find themselves at the top of the ladder as managers, as directors, as supervisors, as team leads. Your job is not to criticize, to bust the bubbles, is not to fault find, is not to isolate wrongs, but instead is for you to identify the areas that needs improvement and create a process that is applicable to that system that can make that wrong or that false or those issues to be improved upon, and then overall the business objective is now being seen in a better light. And this is how it works. The guys at the bottom of the ladder, as I will call them, looking at the organizational structure, are usually the ones who get the job done. The ones who get the credit are usually the ones who are at the top of the ladder. If the one at the top of the ladder can understand that managing the ones at the bottom of the ladder up to the point where he or she or the person finds himself, if you manage them properly, you will constantly always get the credit. But then it would now be responsible for you to pass on the credit to the people down the ladder. Just the same way I figured out that if I don't manage this woman very well and ensure she sees that she's doing very well and she's doing a lot, just that there are areas to improve upon, and find creative way to communicate that, I most likely will be running a chaotic institution, just like any other business you have around that does not understand the same principle. Peace.